It is a fact that Grand Slam track has given us some of the greatest performances of the 2025 season. Melissa Jefferson Wooden's 100-meter dash is still the standing world lead in that event. Kenneth Bednarik dominated wire-to-wire in every slam, and Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, well, we had multiple Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone sightings early in the season. That is always a big deal. So in that regard, Grand Slam track certainly delivered. But that is not what I'm really here to talk about, because the Times put out an article, and they're talking about the money situation involving Grand Slam track. And I've already shared my thoughts on some of this, but now that this part is out in the open, I figured we might as well have the conversation, because what they're addressing is that the athletes, the overwhelming majority of them who competed in Grand Slam track across the 3 slams that actually happened, haven't been paid yet, and the athletes are concerned. Apparently, World Athletics was contacted. Zoom meetings occurred between them and, the league. Ultimately, people want to get paid, and they want to get paid every dollar that was promised to them. Because when you were watching those slams, after all that domination I just said, those same athletes stood up on a stage, and there was basically like an award ceremony where they were given a golden envelope, and it said Slam Champion. And the athletes were real excited to hold that envelope because it represented $100,000 of prize money. I'm going to come back to that part in a moment. Now, everybody understands that Grand Slam track was, giving out more prize money than we really see anywhere in pro track. Like on the circuit, you don't make that type of money from a weekend. It just doesn't happen. And the idea that the athletes will get paid, I'm just going to assume that the same way the article says there's a plan to pay them in the future, July, September, and take care of it. I expect that that's actually going to happen. I mean, it's going to have to happen, because if it doesn't, let's just not really go down that path for the moment. What I am saying is we might as well now have the real conversation, because pro track and field is in a state of crisis. So much so that even when we try to save it, not my words, Michael Johnson's words, we don't even know exactly how to do so. And by that I mean save all of it, because he focused on the track part specifically. Now, as I go forward, yes, this is one of those videos where I originally had no intentions on making it, but because this is happening and it's way out in the open, we might as well have a real discussion, like a responsible one about what's going down. Pro track and money and Grand Slam track paying the athletes, all of this, the reason why it was a big deal, I said I'm coming back to it, is because pro track athletes really struggle with this concept of getting paid to do what they do. We're talking about paying the athletes what they're worth. And that's a whole nother discussion. What are they actually worth? Because when you build a league, you're using the term league for a moment, the salaries are generally a reflection of the, business side. When you get in a pro sport, any real pro sport, you are now in the entertainment business. You're no longer in the basketball business or the track and field business for that matter. That assumes that you know how to entertain the fans. And Grand Slam track was trying something new, because everybody knows that the current state of pro track is nowhere near where it could be. I get it. If you're international and you like the Diamond League, that's fine. It's fine if you do. But go ask the actual athletes. Go ask them how they feel about their situation. If we're talking about athletes who get paid by an international federation, because their nation invests in them, that's great. Some people might make a solid living from doing that. But if you compare track and field athletes to what people in other sports are doing, the amount of money that you can make from that compared to soccer, basketball, American football, baseball, the options, tennis. It ain't just the team sports, it's individual sports as well. Golf for that matter. The amount of money actually on the table for competing in the sport is essentially nothing. That's why everybody's so focused on getting pro sponsors. When we say sponsors, we mean major apparel sponsors, somebody who pays you to wear athletic gear, and you basically become a walking billboard. That's where you expect to make most of your money. The Olympics, the Worlds, all of that, people want to win those things, not so much for the money, but because it becomes easier to appeal to sponsors on the back end. When Grand Slam track comes in and tries to put actual money on the table, it's finally. Because the athletes go out there and they race and they compete. I mean, if we're talking about track and field, then, everything else they do. But again, the winnings, the actual money from competing, is essentially nothing in the grand scheme of things. The reason why, I think, for where we're at, if you consider the iShowSpeed situation, and I'm bringing it up for a reason. I saw a graphic that was sent to me, and the graphic was, essentially trying to make fun of track and field and say that iShowSpeed is the, most lucrative track and field athlete or track athlete or what have you based on how much money he actually generates. So let's go there. First off, I admit that at this point, I Show Speed has become a fascination by the track world. And some people say he's bringing attention to track, and conversations have gone out, shout out to Track and Field Network and all that they're doing. But hey, let's have the discussion that I'm going to go to is this. I Show Speed is not a track athlete. He never said he was. And guess what? I've never seen him run, ever, an actual track race. I mean, yes, he pulled up to a track next to Noah Lyles and ran, but he didn't run an actual track and field distance. And it wasn't a track and field race. There were actual ways that he could run. It's very easy to do so. Tyreek Hill will show you. You can just pull up and run if you really want to at a track and field event, if we're just talking about sprinting. But he doesn't choose to do that. He just goes and runs random races against random people at random distances. And guess what? You don't want to know how he's getting paid? All this money, where it's coming from? I Show Speed is a streamer. That's what he is. He streams his life and the things that he does and makes entertaining content out of it. That's what he does. He doesn't compete in track and field events. Probably because they're not lucrative if he were to choose to do so, even if he were good at it. Which I'm not convinced that he actually is yet. Otherwise, he probably would have pulled up by now. I bring this up because the sport is trying to figure itself out. So when you have people in the track community who say, this is bringing attention to the sport, I Show Speed is not bringing any more attention to track, the actual sport of track and field, then if I were to go get, some paper, ball up some paper, shoot it into a basket, or even run and pretend to jump into, a trash can bin or whatever, and then say, hey, I'm bringing attention to basketball by streaming it and getting views. That's what I Show Speed is doing. He's not doing the actual sport. He's doing something else that resembles the sport, but isn't actually it. People don't even know what pro track is anymore, but that's because we don't know what track and field is. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, and if you really want to know what's going on with the fastest athletes in the world, then you are in the right place. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. Track and field is a sport that has multiple individual disciplines. Depending on who you ask, it's 19, 20, 21 of them, or even more if you're looking at the Olympics, NCAA championships, all of that. So all these individual disciplines, which we call events, exist. That's the sport of track and field. And the 100-meter dash outdoors is the shortest certified distance that we actually have. So when somebody doesn't run that, they're not really competing in track and field. But to get paid to be a track athlete, you'd have to do track stuff. Grand Slam Track was paying people to do actual track. It wasn't what your sponsor gave you. It wasn't coming from somewhere else. It was coming from going out and winning, being good at the sport. I did a poll on this channel, and I wanted to get a sense of where people actually were. And I asked, for the future of pro track, what do we want to see? And the overwhelming majority of people who actually responded suggested they want to see Grand Slam Track or something like it. So clearly, something good happened. But when you see the money situation and the commercial challenges with actually getting paying customers to come to the meets, just being real about what we saw, and TV ratings, what have you, there's a disconnect between what people want, because on one end, the reception is very positive, and on the other, it's just not cashing out on the business end. I'm at a point, but when it comes to the future of pro track, I'm not saying I have all the answers, although I've given this a whole bunch of thought. So I'll just share a little bit of what I'm thinking. Emphasis on a little bit, because some people in the comment section have asked. After everything we've witnessed up till this point this year, I'm going to say this part. Although track and field does need a league, Noah Lyles said it, Michael Johnson's trying to create it, this thing is, everybody I think kind of knows we need a place for pro track and field athletes, or places to go where they can make real money from competing, and that the Olympics in the world should not be the only option. But if that is true, I just don't see anywhere near the level of togetherness in the track and field community for us to get there right now. To be a league, you got to do what leagues do, and you need buy-in from a lot of people. Any league can only succeed if everybody's rowing in the same direction. That means you need the athletes, the coaches, the sponsors. You mean promoters. You mean the meet organizers, television broadcasters. everybody has to go in the same direction. And that includes the fans most of all. Because if they don't buy in, literally, you don't have anything. That's what Grand Slam track is trying to figure out right now. Because at the end of the day, with all the engagement, all of the success, all the positive rapport, all the entertainment value that was produced, the track and field community, like the actual track and field community, struggled to, pay for it. Like, actually pay for it. Because I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of people, let me know in the comments, who watched Grand Slam track or some of the races and so on, like on online platforms, social or whatever, but never actually opened their wallet to watch it. Not on Peacock, or even were watching it on a cable feed, like something you pay for that could track back to them. I mean, hey, let me know. I actually want to get a sense of where we actually are on that. If we move off of this side of it, then what should we do? Maybe Atlos last year in 2024 gave us the blueprint. Not because Atlos was a commercial success in terms of dollars that were actually produced in profit line, but they did one event. One event. And they tried to make it as big as they possibly could. And after they did it, they moved on. And now they're making plans for 2025. And they're talking about plans for 2026 to try to expand. Like, that's what Atlos said. I'm not saying Atlos is perfect, by any stretch. I've already shared my thoughts on that. No need to go back on it now. What I am saying is the concept of doing one event for whatever idea we want to try. Because right now, everybody's rowing in the direction of World Championships and Olympics. Because their contracts are set up that way, the way they're coached, the way they train, mechanism, everything is set up that way. So, just to clarify, if that's what we're doing, and people don't plan on changing what they're doing, we've got to all row in the exact same direction. So if you do one event on the calendar, you got to pick the right week. You got to pick it where it's, not too far away from, or I guess not too close to worlds or national trials, because that's what people care about the most. But it also has to be deep enough into the season where people feel like they can run fast times and are trained and prepared to do so. Just do one mainline event. It could be a Grand Slam. It could be something like Grand Slam or something different. Maybe it's an individual event, whatever. But put money on the table, recruit the best athletes to come, and let's see where the chips fall. Even when we come up with the concept of the shoe wars, or, people have discussed, like, I would love to see a relay meet with pro athletes where, hey, maybe let's just take a page out of what iShowSpeed is doing that's actually working. He's just figuring out moments that he can create, that he can promote. So instead of trying to create like a full-on league and build all the infrastructure, all in one shot, maybe we focus on where we've been, which is piecing together the entertainment, because that's what track has become. Most people aren't even track and field fans. They're fans of sprinting, or fans of distance running. Maybe they're fans of the field events. Like, that's where most people actually are. They don't actually like all of it, or consume a lot of information, or actually want to watch, any of the events that aren't the ones they care about. So if we were to do shoe wars or some version of it, hey, maybe we do an event, like one on the calendar, where maybe after Worlds, this is probably where that would go. Let the athletes, set up relay teams. You set up like almost like a world relay style meet, but not. And you put money on the table, make a big event out of it. And the athletes have to, figure out which groups they're going to run with. Some of them, pull up and they, because they're competing for a share prize money. So let's say 100K is on the line and it'll get split between the four athletes for this one-off race they're going to do. You can assemble a 4x1. Maybe MVP Track Club comes, or Star Athletics puts out a group. Maybe you'll have groups that, start recruiting athletes from wherever else. Like if we're talking 4x4s, Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone runs for New Balance. Pretty sure most people would want to add her to their roster. Trayvon Vermel also runs for them. He's another one who might get a phone call and say, yo, you might need to hop in with us on this sprint relay that we're about to do. At the end of the day, people just want to see the best athletes go out there and compete like it matters. How we get there is how we get there. And if we're not ready to do a league with all the buy-in that a league requires, and I'm going to say y'all let me know, but it seems like collectively, the fans, the athletes, everybody, we're not yet ready for that. Maybe we can just figure out how to do one thing first. Again, I hope Grand Slam track comes back better than ever, succeeds, and it thrives. But I'm also going to say, I'm all in on the Grand Slam track train, not because I think it's perfect. It doesn't have to be. I'm just all in on it because I realize that we have a problem. And somebody is going to have to take some steps to actually solve it. Most people see the problem, they just don't have anything near a solution, and they're not trying anything. For that reason, we're gonna have to make a decision, because all the other sports get to have nice things, not just the team sports, individual sports as well, because even the UFC, with what they're doing for MMA, has figured out a model that works. Boxing is in a healthier place than we are, and when it comes to actually getting paid for doing the sport, they're in a better place. Even CrossFit has figured themselves out to some degree, which is essentially a brand new sport that was made up in the last 10-15 years. Just being honest, people have figured out how to build a model that works. Track and field has a lot of specific things about it, but the one thing that hadn't changed is that people still care about it, because if they didn't, the Olympic ratings would not be what it is. Where we need innovation is everywhere else in the sport, and we can't do it all by ourselves. So I apologize that this video was perhaps a little bit discombobulated, but with this money situation, we would be doing ourselves a disservice if we didn't focus on all of the conversation, because I think we can all agree that professional track and field athletes deserve to get paid what they're worth. Just remember that you cannot pay anyone with money that doesn't actually exist. In the sport of track and field, race day is honestly the easy part, because all of the real work gets put in when nobody is watching. When you wear every day is training day gear, you can let the whole world know that your success in competition is not an accident. Order yours at scarecruiting.com/shop or use the link in the description below, and it always comes with free shipping. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.